Welcome to Youth Service Bureau's Partner in Parenting podcast. My name is Mary Gugesberg, and I am the Youth and Family Education Coordinator, and I have a guest with me again today, Amy Riedel. Our mission at Youth Service Bureau is helping youth and families learn the skills they need to be more successful at home, in school, and throughout the community. One way that we are supporting our community and sharing education opportunities is through these podcasts. I invite you to follow our Facebook page. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Then we want to make sure you don't miss another future episode, or visit ysb.net. There is lots of great information on ysb.net. My guest today, as I have already said, is Amy Riedel. She is a therapist with Youth Service Bureau. Amy, could you introduce yourself and tell me a little bit about our topic today of parental roles and self-care and why this is important to you?
Thank you, Mary. Again, my name is Amy. I am a youth and family therapist with Youth Service Bureau. I am usually out of our Cottage Grove location, but I am working from home and providing telehealth sessions. I am currently accepting new clients as well. So if you're interested in this topic and want to connect with me more, I'd love to chat with you. Today we're talking about parental roles and self-care, and I think this is such an important and relevant topic right now. Families are figuring out how to navigate this new world that they're living in, and I think it's really common to experience conflict and tension within the home, and parents are expected to do a lot right now. And I just think it's really important that you as a parent are feeling seen and heard, and we want to give you some tools today of how to take care of yourself and your family as well.
I appreciate it. Thank you for setting the stage. So let's jump right in. What are some nuggets, some pieces of advice you have for families?
Yeah. So one of the things I think first and foremost, it's so important that we are acknowledging our need for human connection in this world. That is such an innate need in us as people. And if you're at home with your children and perhaps a spouse, a partner, or some animals, just feeling that love. And it's really easy to fall into conflict, like I said, during this time when we're in close quarters and we're kind of right on top of each other. But finding moments that are meaningful, whether that's, cuddling in bed, reading a book before bedtime, or, really embracing the snuggles, or giving a hug in the morning to our loved ones who we can safely do that for, because we're in that same space. I think that is really, really awesome. And to take in those moments. There's a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety going on right now. And so if we can just take in those little moments and allow that to fuel our spirit, I think we can just increase our ability to show up for our families.
Thank you. I will add, with 4 living in my home and all 4 home right now, when you talked about the evening routines, we've been blessed to be able to have lunch every day. And what a joy. I wouldn't have, my daughter's in college and my son's in high school. I wouldn't be able to have lunch with my kids every day. And how exciting. So thank you. I am treasuring that human connection opportunity.
Absolutely. That's wonderful. I love that.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about, this is a new way of walking in my parenting role. How about helping me with some parental expectations or my own expectations during this time?
Absolutely. As I said, parents and caregivers are battling a lot of roles right now. And we want to show up for our families. We want to show up and do a great job at work. We may be experiencing questionable job security, or just kind of all of the things that our world is experiencing right now. And so we want to do a great job as parents, a great job as teachers, a great job as our roles in our work require, as well as reaching out to extended family and making sure that they're doing okay. And so the expectations are just high right now. And so I think it's really important that parents and caregivers can take a step back and give yourself some compassion and get realistic with what you can do right here, right now. You may have to get flexible around what your job looks like, or some of the expectations that you have of yourself as a parent, to be able to get your son or daughter to all of their activities and support them in all of their homework, and all of those things. We just have to scale that expectation back and get down to who we are authentically and what matters most to us in those moments. And so it could be that you're having to do a lot of things at work, and maybe you just need to take that step back and say, you know what, guys, we're going to go out in the yard and we're going to play a game of kickball or whatever you like to do, and allow that expectation to be on pause. You'll return to it, but if your kids are needing that engagement and that connection, getting back to how can I set up a boundary for myself in my role as worker and parent and caregiver and spouse and child of aging parents, all of these things that are going on, to just get flexible and be kind and compassionate to yourself, that you're doing a great job and you are doing enough, and it's okay to have bad days.
Oh, thank you for that permission. Because yeah, each day, some days seems a little harder to. We talked one other time about taking that step forward, and some days seems much more exhausting to do that. Um, yeah, thank you for that. Let's talk a little bit about. You touched on it, the importance of our family time. Can we talk a little bit about family values and how that plays into this whole my role as a parent?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as a therapist, I really love acceptance and commitment therapy. That's one of my favorite modalities to use, and values are at the core of that therapy type. And so, I work a lot with children, families, parents about values. And I think when we are faced with our anxiety, our worry, our stress, the conflict that may arise, coming back to who do I want to be in the world? What is most important to me, and how do I want to share that with others? So if I'm feeling stressed, I can come back to, well, I want to show up as a loving, caring, present parent. So how can I bring that stress? It doesn't go away, but it gets to come along for the ride as I continue to show up as a loving, caring, present parent. So again, when we're dealing with all of these different roles, identifying who am I in each of these roles, and oftentimes we can align those roles with the values that carry over from one role to another. So my role as a parent is to show up and be present. Well, that's also a role that, and a value that I do as a worker, so how can I navigate being both of that at the same time? Does that make sense?
Very much so. And same as you touched on it. We're all worried about our parents or grandparents, and showing up as that child or daughter, granddaughter, whichever, and knowing that, having the trust in wherever they are, they're safe. And we're all getting so much more familiar with technology to have these conversations electronically. I did hear someone recently say, I feel I'm more active in my adult children's lives than I was for years, because we are scheduling Wednesday evenings family check-ins, or Saturday we're having brunch, whatever. And we didn't, if we couldn't see them physically, I think that was just like, oh, I'm thinking of you, I'll call you. But now, I mean, I think we are just as connected, and people are living into those values. Thank you for sharing that. But I make mistakes. I mean, and can you give me some advice when I am maybe really tough on myself for not living into the values that I hope I'm teaching my family, or I feel are super important to me?
Absolutely. Mistakes are totally a part of life, right? But they're also opportunities for us to grow and to acknowledge our humanness. And I think the way that we can model that for our children is to say, whoops, I was having a tough day, and, I was feeling a little stressed, but you know what? I want to have a conversation with you, that I love you and I want to be the best mom or dad for you. that can just be really helpful to acknowledge that it's okay that we aren't perfect during this time. And I think also in understanding that we can take this time to really get to know our family members in a deeper, more connected way. And so even perhaps through those mistakes where maybe you have a tough day and you aren't as present as you wanted to be, allowing that conversation to happen naturally of, I'm dealing with work and I want to teach you and I want to be a good mom and I want to call grandma and grandpa. What do you need during this time? How are you experiencing, being a student at school and being a nice sister or brother to your siblings? And, all of those things I think can help that conversation to grow deeper connections.
Yeah. And, I saw, through Zoom, connected with a family with elementary kids. They're some of our closest friends. And that was the first thing the middle schooler told me is, I really miss my friends. So maybe it's that too, is I, as a parent, what do you need to connect with your friends? Oh, we can download Zoom. We can download whatever, FaceTime, whatever your platform is. But Amy, you touched on the mistakes. And I guess when I'm doing my parent ed, I like to remind parents that we can take a time out too. We literally, if I had a bad day at work and I'm taking it out on my kids when I get home, I can literally step outside the door, take a deep breath, and do a do-over. That is teaching such great skills to our kids to be like, oh, that's right, mom or dad, they're not perfect.
Right. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just another nugget to put in our own toolbox.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little more on all the hats that we're all wearing right now, and maybe some guidance of how to jump from one role to the next.
Yeah, I love that. As I said, we're all wearing different hats, having to fill different roles. And so, I think having a schedule can be really, really helpful. And also sometimes that doesn't work out so well. So sometimes we have to just get flexible, saying, hey, if I'm mom, saying, we're going to have breakfast together and then I want you to get started on your homework. And then I have a meeting that I need to Zoom in for. And when I go into that room, I'm at work right now. So, maybe you have an older sibling or an older child who can take care of the younger siblings during that time, offering some responsibility for kiddos to unload the dishwasher, I need you to take care of your younger sister, those types of things. This is helping them to build skills that they'll need further on in their life. So when you're stepping into different roles, offering a verbal signal to them, hey, I'm going to work right now. I'm going to be upstairs in the office. If you need something, you can ask your older brother or, whatever the family dynamic is. And then also that physical change, putting yourself in a different space, if possible. Sometimes that's not possible. But if it is possible, maybe going into another room, closing the door, setting the expectation that you're to stay in this room and do your homework. And then if, once that's done, you can go outside and play for 20 minutes or, however that works for your family. But signaling verbally and physically as much as possible to signify the different changes of roles can be helpful.
Yeah, I appreciate that where you were talking about being flexible with the schedule. I have a friend who's a teacher by training, and she has a child with special needs. So she is an elementary child. So she is 100% his teacher. She cannot, she gets the resources obviously from school, but I like what you were saying about let's do this and then we'll have some parental time. And maybe it is, if you have additional children and they're older or they can help guide a partner, I mean, it is sharing your needs and sharing what you need to help them be successful and practicing a lot of grace. We gotta be forgiving of ourselves. So what is some of that self-care in all of these different roles that we're talking about?
Well, I love what you said a little bit earlier about taking a break. That may be actually physically going outside, taking a walk if it's safe in your neighborhood to do so, or, maybe in the morning you are able to get up and have a shower where it's just for you and you play your favorite music or you listen to an amazing podcast like YSB. Or, you, when you're cooking dinner, you're saying, hey, you know what, this 30 minutes is for me, everyone out of the kitchen, I just want to take this time. Building in moments like that. And then if you do have a partner, a spouse, or someone in your home who you can lean on for support with the caregiving role of the children, if you can lean on them and say, hey, I'm just needing a break right now, and calling that out. And that is so needed as humans, and when we're existing in all spheres of our lives in one place right now, it's really difficult to decipher that space, because when we're coming home from work, we oftentimes have a drive home where we can listen to our favorite music or kind of signify the end of the day or the start to the day. And right now we're not necessarily having that. So trying to build in those structures as much as possible for self-care.
Sure.
It's going to look different right now. And I think just getting flexible around what that means for you, and just getting in touch with what do I need in this moment so that I can show up for my family as well.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate, and if I have a partner, because obviously not all of us, some of us maybe doing all this on our own and trying to work from home and missing our own family members because we're isolated right now. If I have a partner, can you give me some guidance of having those conversations? Because it's the hardest to say, I need help. We all, I think, have a challenge with that. Can you help guide me how to ask for help, really?
Absolutely. I love that. I think during this time, it's really important that we allow ourselves to tell positive narratives about our partner. The stories that we tell, if we're seeing only deficits or only the things that our partner is not doing, that's going to create increased tension and conflict. And so if you can show up for your partner and say, hey, I'm needing a break right now, but I can help you with what you need in a little bit, acknowledging that this is difficult for them as well. And they may have different needs than you do. So one partner may be more extroverted and want to be around and talk with people, and one partner may just need some quiet time to read a book or listen to music or whatever they like to do during that time. And one is not worse than another. There's no need to put one against another. Just to recognize that the needs may be different, and that's okay, and allowing space for that to show up for one another in that way. Another thing I think when asking for help, we need to get clear with ourselves first and foremost of what kind of conversation we want to have with our partner. So there's kind of two different groups. There's a discussion-based conversation that we have where it's more, I just want you to hear me. I had a frustrating day. I'm just needing to vent. I don't want you to fix this. And then there's a problem-solving conversation where you're like, hey, I'm really looking for ideas and suggestions on how I can fix this or how I can do this better. And both conversations are very, very needed. But when we are clear, first of all, with ourselves of what kind of conversation, and then we acknowledge that to our partner or to whoever is in the home that's helping us, saying, hey, you know what, I just need to talk about this for 5 minutes. Can you just be present with me and just really be with me in this moment? I don't need any ideas right now. I'm just in the processing phase. I just need you to hear me. Or you can say, hey, I'm really stressing out. Do you have any ideas of how I can make this better? And just calling it out of what you need in that moment. And I think that can help communication be much more effective in the home.
Great. Thank you, Amy. I see that where we started was family values. And I see that as really melding so nice. It's tying both. And call me crazy, but can I use that as a guided conversation with my own children?
Yeah, you can. Absolutely. I love that idea. I think if we model that for our kids, then if they can see that and say, hey, you know what, mom, like I am just really stressed with school right now and I just need you to listen. That can be just such an effective way for them to learn to communicate their needs as well. So if they're seeing it modeled both with parents or caregivers, whoever's in the home, And then if you can have those conversations with them, saying, hey, like, let's come up with some ideas around this. And then maybe they're having conversations with you saying, I just need you, I just would love for you to really listen and hear my frustration right now. I think that can be a super duper awesome way for them to begin to hone in on those communication skills.
Yeah. So maybe one of the strengths that we can be learning out of this isolation time and this shelter in place is family bonds, but also some great life skills. Um, I would say that's a skill that I can continue to develop, as well as having those guided conversations to best care. Um, what about affirmations? How can I affirm as we're going through those conversations? Do you have some recommendations on how to affirm?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the most important things that we can do right now is to acknowledge appreciation for our partner and for our kiddos. If they're trying their best and maybe they didn't put the dishes away how you would prefer, but you know what, they made the effort, and say, hey buddy, I really appreciate you taking the time to help me with the dishes. That was awesome. And I encourage to affirm and appreciate the effort rather than the outcome. That sometimes kids make mistakes, and that's totally part of learning and growing, as we all do, as we just discussed with mistakes. But you know what, saying you worked really hard on your schoolwork today, and I know it was tough because your brother was able to watch TV 20 minutes before you because he got done sooner, whatever's going on in the home. But just acknowledging, I saw you working so hard, rather than you're so smart, if that makes sense. Like, you're working really, really hard, because that instills that value of hard work, rather than I have to be smart in this moment. It's okay if I'm struggling, but I'm working hard to achieve that. And I think that can also come out in partnership, in marriage, and whatever your adult relationships are in the home, to say, hey, thank you so much for seeing that I was struggling, and for showing up to take the kids on a walk, or whatever was going on at that time.
Yeah, thank you for those small nuggets. Truly, when I do a parenting class, I frequently remind parents that even just putting a sticky note on the mirror that reads, "Hey, I woke up thinking about you this morning, and I was smiling." I mean, the smallest little tokens to say, "Wow." um, as our kids get older, they don't really appreciate all the affection, physical affection, and maybe we can't give them that anyway right now. But even just that little sticky note on a mirror to say, "Wow, son, daughter, I woke up this morning smiling because I thought of you," or something. "I dreamt about you," or whatever. Just that little of ways to affirm. I also like to share another secret I learned, I guess, from a single dad raising 5 kids on his own. And he bought each of his kids like a journal, I'll say, and they would have conversations like those tough questions that you don't really necessarily want to look at dad in the eye and ask. And they would write those questions down and slide it under each other's pillows. So
Mm.
how cool is that, to have that opportunity that I can ask the questions, dad can answer in his time, and then return the note to me. Um, just that affirming conversation. And um, they're all home right now, so I'm not sure if they're still doing that, but what a great opportunity to just affirm your kids.
I love that.
Isn't that a fun idea?
Great idea. Oh my goodness.
Um, any wrap up comments? Did we miss anything, Amy, that I was wanted to make sure we covered?
I don't really think so. I just want to remind parents and caregivers that you guys are doing awesome. You're doing a great job, and it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to not be perfect in this time. Just do the best you can and continue showing up.
Yeah, and remember that it's okay. We can be vulnerable too. Parents can share that. Wow, I don't have this all figured out, but we're going to learn and do this together. So, super helpful information. Amy, how can people reach you if they have other questions after watching this?
Yeah, absolutely. You can call one of our offices at YSB, or you can reach me at amy.riedel at ysb.net.
Thank you. Thanks for all you do, all the care you provide. And I'm sure we will be in touch again soon. Stay well.
You too. Thank you so much, Mary.